Yeah. Continuing on in Clubhouse's awful choice of icons, there's this page emoji.
Oh, yeah,
What could that possibly mean?
Community guidelines, of course. Of course, sorry.
Well, despite Sakky laughing, we are about to start doing Act Critique in person. We are live. Well, we're not live actually, we're just in person.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, Clubhouse do have a, was it 4 billion valuation?
Really?
I think so, yeah, 4 billion valuation. I may have to correct that on the post edit.
5.
Because Twitter, I think we're in the talks with buying them out, even though Twitter have launched their own Twitter Spaces, which actually I believe is now on Android as well. So crazy stuff, but yeah, huge explosion. There's a whole backstory into it, but I guess we don't really care about that right now. Let's just dive into the app.
Okay, let's go on to the app. Boom, we're in. Let's run through. We've got actions up at the top, and then we've got what look like rooms underneath, and then a calendar as well. Okay, so at the top we've got actions, various different actions, profile.
Are you struggling to see what the actions are? I think that's probably quite fair, because I think it's quite a unique...
What do they mean?
Yeah, it's quite a unique, I'd probably say placement, but also style for a navigation. You don't often get navigation styles at the top of the page like this, right? Normally we have the classic bottom navigation.
Where's my nav bar?
Yeah, no nav bar. Well, I guess it is a nav bar at the top.
Yeah, true.
And yeah, you've got profile, notifications, calendar, and invites. I believe that last one is.
Sparkle, yeah.
Yeah, Sparkle. Which I think actually denotes the fact that you have new invites, or actually the fact that you've got invites to give away. So if you click that...
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got 6 invites, so you're actually not showing the love with Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, search in the top left.
Do you remember when they were selling invites?
Selling?
Yeah, like proper selling it.
I didn't hear about selling.
Yeah. It was going for a lot.
I know there were some closed Slack and Discord channels where they were giving away. But yeah, unique navigation at the top. What do we think of it? It's different.
I don't really mind it. If it doesn't feel weird.
And if we were to overlay the thumb zone heat map for reachability, I think we'd really enjoy that.
Yeah, it's a bit dumb still.
I think it's a bit of a stretch, to be honest, up there. And I did at the beginning get quite confused, as you did when you were trying to figure out what they are, what the icons are. And I think probably the bottom icons that you have in the bottom navigation bar, even if a little bit ambiguous, which they can be if you don't have labels underneath them, you might develop some muscle memory as to where you're going, right? If you only got 4 here, you know that if it's on the far left, it probably is going to be the invites, far right is profile, etc. Here, I haven't developed any muscle memory because they're still quite close together. So I don't think I've really been able to get familiar with what's where.
It's a very good point.
Yeah, so I think in that small space, I'm not actually able to develop any kind of familiarity with that either. So yeah, unsure about the navigation. I guess what I would say about it from having used it for a while is that I don't go to those things that often actually.
Yes. Most
of the stuff does happen in the middle of the page.
Oh, that's a very good point, because they want you to join rooms easily.
Yeah, so that could be the rationale, because I guess if you did have them as bottom navigation, it does kind of signify high level categories that you're going to be flicking in and out of potentially, whereas I haven't seen myself to visit them as often as you would for a normal bottom navigation. So that could be the reason for them.
If this was a bit of a dark pattern, I'd still kind of question it, because is it really stopping you from joining rooms if you just flick into these other sections? I still think you having your first page coming in and seeing rooms straight away there is going to encourage you to do that. You might get a bit of exploration if, let's say, you had a bottom nav with these different sections that are up at the top. But I'm just thinking in my head, is it a dark pattern that they've adopted? Or is it...
Why do you say a dark pattern?
Well, to make you tap the rooms more than tap anywhere else. So to do the main thing that they want you to do, obviously, because you get engagement and then it's better for them, and they've put it up at the top. Or is it just like poor UI?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a dark pattern, only because I think if you did have a bottom navigation bar, I'm not sure that you would be inclined to switch between tabs if the main home tab, for example, was still just join rooms, etc. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure about that. But yeah, I guess it does leave us questioning why they've chosen this.
Okay, we've got the calendar here as well. I quite like that. I think it's pretty cool to be able to see things that are upcoming. I've signed up to a few people and a few groups as well. And then you've got your actual rooms in there as well. Should we talk a bit about the UI for the actual card in the room? So let's have a look at Dent. Dent for what? What? What is that?
I don't know. This is your account, right?
Yeah, that's actually true. Let's look at behind the lens. Behind the lens makes a bit more sense. Okay. Photographers, models, MUAs. Okay, so you've got the group at the top, which is behind the lens, and then you've got the title of the room, and then you can see the people that are in the room, how many people, how many what I would assume are talking. So if you've got 75 in the room, I assume 14 are actually speakers. Not immediately clear though, I'd question that. I like having the actual icons in there, makes it a bit nicer to look at visually and adds a bit of character, I think, if you're talking about trying to get people to join rooms. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I think you mentioned a few of the stuff there. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm not a fan of kind of guess how closely packed the text is, especially the club name behind the lens and the title just below that. I think it's worth also commenting on the actual theme of Clubhouse, which is this kind of beige colour. Got the beige background with the white card popping out. I mean the white obviously stands out on this, so it's kind of is okay for the card. But yeah, I think there's a lot to be designed in this card. I mean, we did talk about the card design in was it Trading 212?
Yeah.
And this one I think is just.
Were they cards or line items?
I think you made the mistake of calling them line items last time. Yeah, but definitely cards.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. In my opinion, but yeah, I think for me there's a lot going on, and even so, it still doesn't tell you that much. So you mentioned about the icon for actually knowing who's speaking. So at the very bottom, just probably about here on the screen. We'll see if that's actually correct. So yeah, the icons at the very bottom, you've got the typical user persona icon, and then which is it a speech bubble? Yes, a speech bubble, right? They're using for the speakers. And I think I probably would prefer a different icon than a speech bubble, because speech bubble is used for when you are communicating, but it's not text, right? It's kind of when you're typing or that.
I'd almost want like a shouting one.
Exactly.
The like blue one that you get.
Yeah. Or you could even have a megaphone or.
Yeah.
So I think maybe options there. I'm sure they probably experimented. And then also in terms of the speakers, there are 14 speakers here. One thing that I really don't like about Clubhouse is that actually, for me to know any more information about this, I have to actually tap it and go in. And the problem when you tap it's true. They do lure me in, but the problem is, I mean, I could also be in a different club or different actually room, and I'm just browsing on the main page, and I've always wanted to see more, and I accidentally click it, go in, and then it's like, I'm actually in there now. So seeing more, like actually being able to see the full list of speakers could be actually, I think, more useful. And also in terms of the time that this is elapsed for, so how long has the room been going for? I don't know any information about that. When is it going to end? Is there going to be an end time? I've seen people kind of hack and get around this by putting the duration in the title.
What, they change it as
so they'll put like brackets 30 minutes or bracket 60 minutes, so you know how long it is. And again, it's obviously they're in the early stages, but I thought take some of that feedback and maybe try and implement.
It's a great note on feedback. If they're actually doing research, which would be great to see. Sometimes the little hacky moves that people make are a great way to see like what features would be really useful for people as well. So that time one is probably, if people are doing that, or like when it started, maybe in there as well.
Exactly. I think it kind of gets across the basic information, and this is great for a V1. It
is very much a V1.
It is, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to be too harsh here, because their
team is less than a handful.
Super small team. They're growing super fast, so they're having to think about many more issues rather than just the card UI design. But yeah, I think there's a lot of room to go here.
We'll touch on to the interactions for joining and leaving rooms a bit later on, but for now let's have a look at the search. So when you search up here, this is actually one of my most interesting spots in Clubhouse. So you got people to follow, finding conversations in God knows how many topics there are here. Look at that. There's got to be something that you find. And then there's actually the search part as well. So if you wanted to search, obviously, ZeroToDesign, you would definitely find it here. Where is it, DJ?
Well, it's actually, you find me because if you realise you're on the people tab, if you go over to the clubs tab, there is still no clubs found. Oh, wow. I thought I was going to win that.
I think it's the space. Ah, yes.
That's peak.
No, that's good.
Well, no, but okay, I should have put it in the description so I can find it as well. That's poor SEO on my part. But
we'll come back to that.
We'll iterate, don't worry.
Okay, back on the main screen. People to follow. Okay, so this comes out of your contacts, I believe. So when you sign up, it allows you to get access to contacts. No?
No, yeah, you're 100% right. I'm putting the face because I think this is
one of the,
yeah, this is one of the. I've heard other people as well. They don't have the best feedback around the way that Clubhouse collects information, right? Because,
oh shit! I don't even know what they do.
Yeah,
I've just said yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a sheep.
See, a lot of people do that, but essentially what happens is they'll take your address book and actually upload it to their servers, and that's how then they can also tell you, like, if I wasn't on the app, you could actually search me up, and it could tell you that there's 10 people that I know that are already on the platform, and it's like, how should they know that? And that's because they're basically uploading everyone's address book to the cloud.
Have they been hacked yet?
There was one hack. There was one hack, I think, which they had to address. Again, we'll edit that out if it's not true. But yeah, I guess it's I don't want to speak badly, but I think that is a little bit of it's a controversial one. It's an ethical situation. A lot of apps are doing it. What is the what we spoke about on one of our podcasts? But a video version. House Party. Yeah, House Party did the same thing as well. So I think it is a bit of a trend, and it's part of the growth hacking phase. Yeah. But yeah, I just thought I'd comment on that because it's a little bit controversial.
Yeah, I clearly don't give a shit.
Well, okay then.
Yeah, there's people to follow. I quite like that. We can see more. You've kind of raised my thinking on how much they're packing into each card, and they've just continued on in this, to be honest, because it's really tight, which is a big difference from Trading 212, which was nice and spaced out, pretty airy, and you even talked about kind of that little tip for people to double your margins if you're ever concerned, and it feels like they could actually maybe use some of that for this as well. I do like the emojis in there again, but I would question the UI of it. UX feels good because there's loads, and you've got search, obviously.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of emojis. I probably use them too much. I think in this case they've also used them too much because when you have, how many this is, 4, 7, so that's 14 categories, 14 different emojis. It's a lot to take in. I think if we can find a screenshot also of the onboarding, if we can get it in here as well, because you find that when you're actually doing the onboarding, you have to actually choose your interest. It's also just as packed as that is there. So there is a lot going on. And on your point around, if you think of the UX of this card, they've got the theme or the category, like if you look at the top left one, it's identity, and they've then got some examples of what's actually in them in the description. And that makes sense, right? To make it clearer on what the category is. Yeah. But then I don't know. It's a lot going on. I'm not sure if it should make you jump into it first, or even just have it as a rose maybe then, so you can let it breathe a bit more. Yeah, like exactly. Your kind of quote.
They make you jump in with the actual main screen as well. You know what I've thought of now? They say up at the top, find people and clubs, right? Do we agree with the idea that you should look to find people rather than find conversations about? Because it feels like they've pushed, like hierarchy wise, it's further down, right? So they're kind of encouraging you to say people and clubs, and then the people is first. I think I'd want to see conversations, but I wonder why they've put people first.
And when you say conversations, you mean the
because it's actually titled "Find Conversations." Okay, that's not the actual topic.
This bit here, yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. I think one thing that I did notice is that since I've joined Clubhouse, I do tend to get more and more follows as more people join on the platform. And I think that could be partly down to this screen here.
See?
Right? Which again,
guys, design affects it. See, if you think you're lacking followers, it's probably because the app is just shit.
But yeah, so like I think this people to follow section here actually probably increases the likelihood people are going to start following more people, and in turn just
makes your profile look good, all that jazz.
Yeah, so I think that probably would my guess as to why that's up there rather than conversations. This may change. I think one thing that we've come across recently working on the stuff that we're doing now is apps need to evolve as your kind of user base grows and changes. And this might be the solution right now as they're trying to get lots of follows and interactions going for people. But maybe over time, they might be like, okay, we need to help discovery for conversations rather than discovery for people. So yeah, I think maybe in time that could be a different approach.
Or a business goal is going to come in. Let's say you have a promotion or a big collaboration. This would be a perfect spot to slap that in at the top above.
Yes.
Right?
Advertising. Crikey.
More data to take. Okay, I've had enough of looking at people and topics. I'm going to go back to the main page and try and actually join a room. That's the main purpose of Clubhouse, of course. Let's join the photographers one because it looks quite interesting. Okay, so we're obviously going to be kicked out of Clubhouse pretty soon. Okay.
That's cool though, that they can actually know whether you're recording, which is good for privacy. So they are trying to do some good stuff.
Yeah. Continuing on in Clubhouse's awful choice of icons, there's this page emoji or icon. What does that mean?
I mean, yeah,
what could that possibly mean?
That feels like it was a wireframe icon that isn't quite finished. Community guidelines, of course. Of course, sorry.
If we look back at that interaction, it quite nicely pops up from the bottom.
Yeah.
It would be nice if the card actually expanded. I think that would be a super nice interaction. But anyway, it pops out from the bottom. The same top section of the group and the title is retained. But now you can actually see the speakers. So James is clearly having a lovely time. We're not talking, are we? Okay.
No.
What? This is a good question.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot to unpack here. I think first, just to note, we did see before there were like, I forgot how many people in it. And
it's quite a few. So popular room.
Yeah, but that's now gone. So that information is now gone from you. So you're unable to see that, which I find quite annoying. And you do have to actually drag this down and go back to the home screen, and that's how you can see again.
Oh, sorry,
that's pull to refresh. That's PTR. They always talk about PTR and Clubhouse, which it took me forever to understand.
What does that do?
Pull to refresh. So yeah, it's quite weird, but basically people join the room at different times, and I don't think everyone actually cares about this. So I'm probably gonna.
I just realised I forgot the time box. Okay. Look, we've got all these people here in the room, followed by speakers. That is not accessible fun. I can barely see that.
Yeah, that is quite tough.
It's very light. A lot of people though in the other room.
Accessibility is a really big thing that's come up on Clubhouse. Also, there've been quite a big group of people actually that have been really good at actually pushing accessibility on Clubhouse. One thing is actually when you come onto Clubhouse and you start talking. People that have some kind of vision impairments, it's actually not easy to know who's talking, right? And especially when you have lots of voices flying across left and right. So people,
it must be a nightmare.
Yeah, people have started to introduce themselves now. So they'll say, hi, it's DJ talking, and they'll say what we have to say, and then at the end of it, they'll then say, I'm DJ, I'm done speaking. Which also I think helps to just help decorum and have polite conversations, which is quite nice.
Decorum?
Yeah. Well,
welcome to Latin.
It's a word I often use because big words suffice. Again, this is V1. I think it's partly come with their success. They've blown up. They're huge, and now everyone's using it. And of course, you're going to have all these issues. So again, I think hopefully they're adjusting this pretty quickly because it's a big one, and everyone's trying to use the app.
I think as of early February, they had one developer on this, like full time. That's what I heard last. As of like early February, yeah, it's pretty insane what they managed to do.
Is that true?
That's honestly what I heard in the grapevine. From some people that have been using Clubhouse for a long while. So if anyone disagrees, you can let us know. But I think as of February at least, it was a very small operation. So we do, like, all of this almost has to be caveated.
Yeah, everything is caveated. Yeah. I mean, we're purely doing this so people can understand, our thoughts on design in general.
And definitely not because it's really popular right now and we think we'll get lots of likes. Let's talk about these little actions at the bottom. Leave quietly, plus, and a hand. These are actually, I think, very explicit. I like that there's a description next to the icon for leave quietly. Big deal, because you're doing a big action at that point, right? If you are leaving a room, especially if you're a speaker, even. Plus, is that to add someone in? I'd probably assume it's to add someone in. Yeah. Raise your hand. Maybe you wanna talk. I would assume that. Kind of like if you're in a crowd.
Yeah. So, I mean, you did a good job at, I guess, guessing what the icons are. But I still thought it's not super clear. I mean, when you had the plus, you were like, probably this, and you were right. And also the hand, I have had people complain about that, because whilst you can compare it to raising a hand, I think for me, if you look at this from cold, it's also kind of like a stop, like a hand just saying no. So yeah, again, I don't know. I think the leave quietly really helps. The deuces icon is cool, but again, if you actually just tap on hallway, I think, Sakky, in the top left, that will then, so that's taking you back. I didn't actually realise they've called this the hallway. So the
it is like a house.
Yeah. So I guess it keeps in the vibe.
So I was right.
But yeah, so now you come back to the hallway, you can see that room is now at the bottom. You can now see the number of people in there, if you can see just here.
Yes, that's nice.
But again, you lose that when you go in the room. And then these icons here, there's no leave quietly to the peace sign, with the peace sign now. So I remember several times I've been in here confused as to which button to press, and I'm like, I don't want to, you really don't want to raise your hand when you're trying to leave. So yeah, I still think, again, it's a bit confusing. And I think, just generally overhauling icons is definitely needed.
What I do want to point out at this point is what I think Clubhouse do incredibly well. Some people will be taken aback at how this feels the first time that they use it, but the interactions are so easy. So you want to leave, you're done. Like, it's one tap gone. There's no "are you sure?" Nothing like that. It's incredibly flexible. It's incredibly seamless. And again, joining rooms, one tap, you're in. Leave quietly, you're out.
Can you start ruining their rooms, Sakky?
Sorry. Dent forum and photographers, I do apologise. I really like that, because I like quick actions, and I think it's very efficient, obviously, to do that, which always appeals to me. But I can see it being a little bit scary for people at the beginning. How does it feel? How does it feel for you? How did it feel for you when you first started using it? And how does it feel maybe as you've gotten to get used to it?
Oh, is that a question for me?
Yeah, that's correct, David.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah, it wasn't to the crowd. It's not a live stream. So.
So I think actually, you make a good distinction between the beginning of the journey using it and now kind of having used it for a while. I think at the beginning it is quite scary, as you say, because things just happen super fast. Like, tap, you're in, and for me, I've made a mistake many times of actually joining a room I don't want to. Generally not a problem, but I have had times where if you join a room where there's like 2 or 3 people, that's a bit awkward, right? Because there's maybe 2 people talking on stage and you've now joined, if you're the only person in the audience. Now, if you leave, I don't know, I just feel some type of way. So I think, I don't know. I think that there still needs to be a bit more affordance in that scenario, because I'm not sure if there's only a few people that ask you, do you definitely want to join? I mean, that's probably still quite long. But maybe why don't you take a call from your mum first? Because
this is just a theme.
Sakky's mum always makes it into the video. It's super impressive.
Goodness me, she just wants to be a designer, bless her.
But yeah, I think at the beginning it's a bit of an issue. I've got used to it now. I think definitely on the flip side of exiting, it's super smooth and clean. But still, I think when joining, I think there probably should be a call to action on this card that is join, rather than just anywhere on the card that is join, in my opinion. because that means you're not going to make that mistake then, right? And it still allows one-click access to get into the card, to get into the room rather. So yes, I think there probably should still be a change, but it is smooth for some people, so it might be an opinion. The grey
the grey beam. Yeah, it's not like when you raise the point about accessibility. I don't think that's like incredibly clear. Like, look at the icons going in and out now, on and off. Sorry, in and out.
Yeah.
That's way more clear than someone talking. I think I just want more of like a radial thing. You know, imagine if it's like the sun. Redesign.
Yeah,
like,
I agree about the ring though, and the mute button. I think when you said the mute button going on and off, that actually was more noticeable than the ring, because the ring's not flashing. There could be some more flashing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Give me something, pow, pow, pow.
I just want to make a point. There is explore and not influence scroll. I kind of like that because I don't want to keep scrolling, or I don't want to be encouraged to keep scrolling forever and ever, especially when it comes to rooms. Like, this isn't just a piece of content, it's something that you have a little bit of an investment in. Imagine if you've got like loads of rooms with like 2 people just at the bottom. That'd be so peak.
No, that's a very interesting point, because when you mentioned infinite scroll, I thought you were going to say you prefer infinite scroll just to keep exploring rooms. But actually, I do like your point. I think yeah, there is something to making you explicitly say I want to see more rooms. Makes you feel like you're actually there getting involved, as opposed to just if you endlessly see rooms, it could put you off and be like, oh, that's too much, or man, not for me.
For those of you that have seen Social Dilemma, this will be quite clear to you. But those of you that haven't, infinite scroll became a contentious topic, just of how mindless people started becoming on social media. I think they're doing a good job at this by having the explore, to be honest.
Yeah. Plus points for being ethical.
Okay, well that's the app. I know it was a pretty quick one this time, and I think we actually only went through 3 screens, but there was a lot to unpack at each one. Let's give a bit of a summary on the UI, DJ. I think we know where we're going to be starting on this one.
Yeah, I think that you've got to talk about the icons. Icons are a tricky one. I think we haven't had to dig too deep in icons for many other apps. The key is to keep them consistent, clear, add labels when you can. Use a test as well of icons. Like, make sure that people can see it at a glance, so you can. A good exercise actually is just to flash an icon at someone. Don't flash someone at someone. Oh, sorry. But flash an icon at someone and see if it can tell you what it stands for, what words to think about. So yeah, I think that test probably is needed to be done here. Go for a redo of the icons. And then I think just generally cleaning it up. We've talked about the condensedness of some of the cards and the styling. So unfortunately I probably can't give this one too high of a score. I do like Clubhouse. I think at this stage, again, we're caveating, right?
It is a caveat.
They've got a very few resources. They're blowing up, but I think, to be honest, right now I'd have to give it a 2.
I'd agree.
There's a lot of room for improvement.
I'd agree. I will say, and again, going back to the caveat here, I think they've got the foundations right.
Yes.
Right? They're thinking about who's speaking, for example, with the speech bubble icons. It just needs a V2, it needs a V3, and it will go on. So I think they've done a fantastic job of V1, MVP, whatever this was meant to be. And it's just upwards and onwards, I guess. So,
well, no, it's a fair point, because I guess, some people get a 2 after being
exactly. To get a 2 after about 6 months, you're great. We know some apps that will get a 2 after about 6 years.
I think just one last comment on the UI. I would be super excited to actually join Clubhouse at this point if I was a UI designer, though.
We're not available for work right now, but sorry.
Yeah, the foundation's there, and you can really run with it. So UI 2 from a UX, Sakky. What are you thinking?
I kind of want to split it into initial versus ongoing.
Okay.
I can see all of these icons, these quick interactions, being very new to people when they first start, and it might not be so clear, and it might be like, whoa, I didn't expect that to happen. But I think once you've gotten accustomed to it, just like literally after the first time almost, you're just like, wow, I love the speed in which they have certain types of interaction. So we talked about joining and leaving a room. I think it's awesome that you have that like quickness to this experience, and I love that, and I think it's just super flexible. Obviously, when you are a moderator or like a speaker, I think there are probably states there where it's just like, are you sure you want to leave? Because you are actually talking, for example. But I think that is super slick, super nice. And I do like also the search as well. I think there's so much that you can clearly go in and see, and it'll be awesome to explore all sorts of topics. I think everyone's on Clubhouse. They've kind of done a great job in getting people in there, and the topics are probably testament to that as well. So variety, amazing. It can appeal to loads of different types of people. And I also think that nice little touch on the explore button rather than the infinite scroll probably maybe touches on the ethics of design there a little bit as well, to just stop you from going crazy on screens, and actually actively want to look for more things. So UX, I think ongoing, I would say 4, initially a 3.
I think just to touch on the ongoing versus initial, we mentioned on Trading 212 the fact that it could be useful to have some kind of onboarding or kind of tutorial rather on the initial steps. Clubhouse doesn't have that. It doesn't really have any kind of tutorial. I think actually could solve the problem, because one mistake, or not really a mistake, but something that I like to avoid is designing a screen to be super clear and obvious at the beginning, which obviously is what you think you should do as a designer. But if every other time after that they already know what it is, then you're actually kind of making a mistake by own designing for the first time they see it. And I think one way to solve for that is to have a clear kind of tutorial at the beginning that can teach them what's going on, and then going forward you can then stick to the kind of shorthands or kind of abbreviated versions of the UI or whatever that is. So I think that could be great for Clubhouse here.
For sure.
Slick onboarding tutorial, get to know the style for the chats, whatever.
Yeah.
And then going forward, I think the kind of style it has of abbreviations and shortcuts works. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining our first in-person app critique. No, I will not be touching your COVID hand. Thank you very much. But yeah, we'll be back with some more. Let us know if you like this shorter one, or if you think you want us to do it a bit more in depth again. But either way, drop a like, drop a comment, and subscribe for the next video.